Okay, so if we start off with your name and how you would describe what you do.
Do you want me looking at you or?
Yes, we'll just chat.
Yeah.
I'll just keep an eye on that. We've got 15 minutes. Yeah, cool.
Hi, my name's Sean Mason. I'm an improviser, actor, used to be a stand-up, occasionally do stand-up.
Okay, and so I'm interested, so you say that you used to be a stand-up. Why did you move away from stand-up?
It was a mixture of things, really, that led to the choice of stepping away from stand-up. One was I didn't live in Manchester. I moved away from Manchester after university, didn't drive, still don't. So if I wanted to get to a gig, I'd have to get a train to Manchester to maybe get a car share that I just couldn't afford to do. And I just started to lose confidence, really, and I remember doing one gig. I used to finish on a comedy poem because I was one of those stand-ups. And I remember once just having such an awful attack of nerves I'd never really felt before. That another comic, who was a friend of mine, had to come and physically hold the poem for it because I had that prop. And I don't know what it was. Because a great gig is an amazing buzz, and I think that's true of any performance. And a terrible gig is, it was just draining. You've got to get straight back on the horse to get over it, but I couldn't do that because I wasn't in a position to do that. So it just continually got worse, and I wasn't enjoying it. And I remember chatting to Colin, who's the sound tech at the Frog and Bucket, and he said, "Oh, I've not seen you for a long time." I said, "Yeah, I've stopped doing stand-up." And I said, "Look, I'm not enjoying it. I've got improv, that's my outlet, and I really enjoy that. So why would I take stage time off someone who is committed to stand-up and pursuing that, when actually I'm an okay stand-up. I'm not amazing. I'm not awful, but I'm just kind of middle of the road. Why would I take time off someone who needs that time to get better?" And I just remember Colin saying, "Yeah, wish more people had realised that." So that's when I kind of realised I've made the right decision, really. But occasionally I do get that itch just to do something. Storytelling that's the element I like in storytelling. So I do scratch that sometimes.
What do you think that itch is?
I think it's a selfish part of me. Because the reason I love improv is it's supportive and it's generous, and you get your moments to shine, but you're doing that as part of a collective, and this is your moment to make someone else look good, or someone else is going to make you look good, and that's great. That's working together, and everyone's got your back. But I think sometimes maybe it's just a memory of good gigs, because I know some people just never want to scratch that itch. But I do remember if you making someone laugh and telling a great story or a great joke that put a smile on someone's face, and knowing you personally were responsible for that, is very rewarding. Which sounds unselfish, but I think part of it is a selfish urge to sometimes go, "Oh, look at me."
So you moved away from stand-up to improv.
Yeah, I started doing improv first. I did the common sports workshops first, and off the back of that, just the people I was with, like Manchester was having a big boom in open mic nights and open spots, and we were based at the Comedy Store at the time, so they were always asking people to come down and do the Gong. And, that was great. I remember my comedy career peaked when I won King Gong at the Comedy Store. and then it got to its absolute lowest point. But off the back of winning that, I was given a 10-minute slot on a Thursday night that I was not ready for. And I died on my hole. And afterwards, during the gig, I just went, look, you know what? I'd got a couple of laughs, but it wasn't going well. And then I made the mistake of acknowledging it wasn't going well, which then makes it worse. But what I just said was, you know what? You've been very patient. I called it early. I was meant to do 10, I just did 5. And I just went, look, I'm going to get you a comic that you want to see will come back. And I remember in the bar afterwards, someone coming up to me and giving me the biggest backhanded compliment I've ever received, which was, you handled yourself with great dignity. I was like, oh, thanks. And if you died, they'd always ask you if it was your first time. And then you go, no, I've been doing it for 2 years. And then they're like, oh. So I don't miss that at all.
So when we're talking about improv, just to be clear, we're talking about comedy improvisation.
Yeah.
And what is it about comedy improv that draws you towards that rather than, say, poetic improv or more straight-laced improvisation?
I've always been a believer that the two don't have to be separate. So Comedy Sports is a family-friendly show. It's short form, fast-paced gags and games. So there's less scope to maybe do something quite dramatic. But when we do our long-form shows, which are long, you can have a character arc that might be, it can still be funny, but it isn't necessarily without dramatic weight. And so primarily I would identify as a comic improviser, but I don't think the two can't coexist, because I've always believed great comics make great dramatic actors, and great comic writers can write great dramatic scripts, but that doesn't necessarily work the other way around. And I think the easiest way to make someone cry is to make them laugh first. You've got to make them like you, and then, because all the things that make me cry when I watch them on TV are sitcoms that have got us so invested in the character. So the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is the episode of his dad, Jim Royal with his daughter, and she's too scared, she's about to have a baby. Every episode of Porridge, even Dad's Army. There's a beautiful episode where Captain Mainwaring, there was always jokes about his battle axe wife that you never meet. There's actually an episode that's like a brief encounter spoof, but it ends. There's no joke in the last 2 minutes. It's just drama.
So do you think that there is a lot of power in being able to make someone laugh?
I think so. It's like if you look at every Edinburgh show, the last 20 years started winning awards, went with that formula of 40 minutes of jokes, 10 minutes of, and this is when my dad died, 10 minutes of jokes. So, yeah, you can broach subjects that are potentially difficult or depressing with humour, and that unites people and grounds people. So, like people with maybe disabilities or parents who've gone through difficult times or loss, or kids, children of divorce, whatever, they can talk about all of these things in a way that invites the audience in, and people who have gone through similar things can go, yes, I recognise that, and laugh at that. I think comedy is a great tool for talking about those things.
So, do you think that comedy can be, to be a comic performer can be a cathartic experience?
Yeah, I don't want to go down the tears of a clown thing, because I think that's a horrible cliche and it shouldn't be the defining trait of a comedian. But I think that's a major purpose of comedy is a cathartic communal experience.
And do you think that that's a mentally healthy way to speak about these potentially?
I think you can tell the difference when a comedian is charging you to be their therapist as an audience. And I think, don't go up there and just go 10 minutes where you've still got to have jokes. But yeah, I think it is cathartic and I think it is meaningful, or can be. It doesn't have to be. I think there's also doing an hour of fart jokes is equally valid, but could also be quite cathartic. Sometimes you just want to be silly and play, which is again why I enjoy.
And do you get a cathartic element from it?
Yeah, I think sometimes, not always. I think you can get it just from the community aspect of it, if you're lucky enough to have that. But yeah, it can be a release or just an opportunity to let things out, or just to forget the world for 2 hours and just be silly and do something a bit daft. But yeah, I think comedy can be used.
And what do you personally, what makes you get up on stage and makes you want to make a group of people laugh?
That's a good question. What makes me want to do it? Part of it is, I think, does go back to that selfish, look at me, I'm going to make you laugh, I want to do that. But also, it is a desire to just make people happy for a bit. And even if there's no one in the audience and it's just the five of us up on stage and we're just looking after ourselves and just having fun, it's just that release to go and maybe not think about what a terrible state the world's in. And I've just realised I've got my "With Great Improv Comes Great Responsibility" t-shirt on.
Fantastic. Well, I think this will probably be the final question.
Yeah,
what is it that you want to get out of comedy in the future?
I just want to keep performing and being allowed to perform. And I think if I wanted to be famous, I'd have stuck at being a stand-up. Because even like a lot of the famous improvisers now are famous because they've done stand-up or sketch outside of that thing. So I just want to keep performing and having fun and having an excuse not to grow up, I think. And to explore and discover new things and try new things. Just keep creating. I mean, that's it really, it's quite... Yeah, I just don't know what else I'd do.
Cool.